Welcome to the Rick Ramos Podcast, Chicago.
Doing it live. So, a lot of people, now that the vaccination's out, a lot of people are crawling under the rocks that they laid under when the pandemic hit. And now people want to fight. Now people are ready to get back in the ring. First of all, shame on you. You guys should have been ready.
You're late.
There's a lot of opportunities out there during the pandemic season, so you guys dropped the ball. That's one for sure. Mm-hmm. And I think, there's gyms, not only in our area, but, throughout the world that, everyone's saying, oh, I didn't get a fight, or there was really no opportunities. That is such a lie. Like, that is crazy talk.
Yeah.
I think there was during the pandemic was a great time to upset a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Upset meaning like get the win on the B side. And I think that, if you were smart, you beat the A side and you get the rematch clause and they're going to activate that like we did and you could double your money.
Right.
So win, lose or draw, March 13th, I think we're going to win, but win, lose or draw, we've already won, so from a financial standpoint, right. To show people like you're undisputed and no one can ever take that away, and you're in the history books and that's it, so that's that. And I think, smart money always stays ready and kind of, I don't want to say dumb money, but silly money always looks for excuses. So we're back in action. We're back on the podcast and we just got back from Iowa. Yes. Shout out to Lynn. Lynn pulled off her third victory. We had a lot of drama in Iowa.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. Just the things that you don't see on the inside, the things that people don't talk about on the inside, or the things that people don't involve themselves enough with to even know about.
Right. Or the work that managers and promoters and matchmakers have to do behind the scenes.
Exactly. And a lot of these guys, they just don't know, which it's not really their fault, I guess. They're just coaches,
right.
And so they bring their fighter and, they let everybody else handle everything. And that's understandable, but you got to get involved. You got to know what's going on. You got to know how you can help, how you can level up, how you can change the game, how you can add things to your resume for what you do. You know what I mean?
Right. So what you're trying to say is, and what we're trying to get to is that Lynn went through two opponents before we got the third opponent last minute, 24-hour notice. We flew somebody out from Texas and Summer got the win. But, one of the opponents that Summer fought was supposed to fight had COVID.
Mm-hmm. She's out.
Yeah. So 2.5, 3 weeks before the fight, we get another girl. She has a history of coming in 20 pounds plus overweight. I looked it up, found that. So I asked for a 10-day weigh-in, which the opponent declined. So she declined and then said, I'll be at weight. And I didn't put that in the contract, but now I know everybody, if you fight any one of my fighters, you have to check the weight at least 7 to 10 days out. So at least be a respectable weight to...
Right.
Before you come in town.
I mean, that's what you have to do if you're fighting for the WBC. Everybody talks about the green belt WBC. I have four or five different weigh-ins. I had the weigh-in before the 30 days. As soon as they gave us a date, I weighed. They just wanted to know where I was at. I just did my 30-day weigh on the 12th. And then I'll have a 7-day weigh, 14 and then 7, and then the actual weigh-in. So that's what you have to do when you're at a high level. So put yourself at the high level. Right.
And I think even at any level, I think they should watch that. I think that shows, that was something that I almost, learned the hard way from. This girl said, yeah, I'll be at weight. You'll see me when I get there. I don't have to show you my weight yet. Sure enough, she canceled 24 hours before the fight. And at 10 p.m., we got an opponent to fly out to Iowa. So we made the fight happen. Lynn's 3-0, 2 knockouts. I'm happy. I think she's probably one of the most underrated young talents out there, and I'm not just saying it because she's my fighter, but I think she can destroy like the Hammer chick, whatever her name is. Mm-hmm. I think she destroys Hammer. right now with 3 fights. I think she destroys her.
Yeah.
I think she beats Hannah Rankin, 154.
I would say that.
And shout out to Hannah Rankin. I actually like her. Much respect to her, but Summer would beat her. The girl from Ireland, Katelynn, I'm not sure what her last name is. I think she's 4-0. They're hyping her up hard. Summer would destroy her in 2 rounds. And that's a fight. I don't even know her name. Katelynn, whatever. She's from Ireland. She's 147 pounds. Whatever her name is. I don't want to plug her. But so, that would be a great undercard fight. That would be a great co-main event. Summer versus Katelynn, whatever her name is from Ireland, on the undercard of you and Katie Taylor rematch. That sells tickets. Katelynn and Summer Lynn are not signed by Matchroom. However, I think that's a good signing. The winner gets signed, and the loser goes back to Ireland. So, I think that's smart money, and I think Summer Lynn should get signed. And I'm kind of shocked that Eddie hasn't signed her yet, but we'll see what happens. Anything can happen. I know Golden Boy had interest, and you never know. Yeah, you never know what can happen. What else is going on? What else could we talk about? I know this. Probably in 2 weeks we'll probably start having our first guest live in the studio here in Rick Ramos' studio. I'm trying to figure out who it is. I want to talk about topics that are a little controversial. I kind of want to I want to go in depth about the contracts with promoters and fighters and how tricky they are. And, promoters aren't that smart. Trust me. They've just been around for a minute and they know how to word things, so that you don't understand them. But I think if you surround yourself with smart people, I think you figure your way around town. But again, don't sign some shitty contracts, because I'm sick of giving free advice away. Because a lot of fighters do call and ask at the top level. A lot of fighters that you guys support, A level side fighters, call me and ask me why their contracts are so shitty. And then when I tell them, then they're like, "Oh shit," and it's like.
Usually too late.
Yeah, multiple Hall of Fame fighters call me and ask me about their contracts and and how shitty they are. But you know what I think? I think more men sign shitty contracts than females, and the reason why I say that is because men are so macho they won't even tell you the shitty contract that they signed. They'll just kind of go around it and play fake it till they make it kind of crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. What else we got going on? Who do you guys want to see? Let us know. And we definitely want to put out the people you want. I don't really want to call anybody over the phone, because it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of whack. But I'd rather have people here talking live, and I think I definitely want to touch on Chicago boxing and how it's been so terrible for the last 20 years or so, probably longer than that, 30 years or so. So, and now there's a new sheriff in town, and I think there's a lot of new faces and a lot of new coaches and a lot of new, undiscovered talent. And we'll see. I think the last group of good guys, fighters coming out of Chicago, they all got losses on the record, and, it's time to move on to the next tier of guys or girls, and hopefully that the next group of guys and girls are world champions,
Is that something you want to get into right now? Like why do you think it's... I know one thing that you have said is that some people are amateur too long. Yeah,
I think, I definitely want to touch on the topic. I'd rather have Chicago people here, because I want to hear their input. Yeah, but I'll talk about some of it. Like, I think, the other day I asked a kid, how long you were amateur? 7 years. And it's like, you're 25. Like, that's a long time. Like, you should put caps. Like, here's the thing. I think trainers will say, "Oh, I'm helping out the community," and they're saying all that bullshit that like they want that they think they want the community to hear. But like, man, I'm running a business, and I'm running a business, and those who want to work will benefit from the business.
Yeah,
remember that, and whether you come into boxing on the business side or like wanting to think it's a business or not, at the end of the day, you want it to be a business, no matter what. Like, I'll take my kids to stay out of trouble. Yeah, that's great. but you want to turn that into a business so they can never work again. Remember that. Like, I hate when people are like, oh, I'm doing it for charity or I'm doing it for the community and blah, blah, blah. Listen, at the end of the day, that's why you're never successful, because you think that way. I want to do business. So with that said, for me, there's a 3-year limit amateur for the guy, a 2-year limit amateur for the girls. We move, fast. We do
and that's not like a cap on how many fights they have with you. That's not a cap on their age. It's just straight time, the time they spend at your gym.
Yeah, because I think everybody has a value, right? Let's say a 30-year-old dude comes to me and he's decent. He's got decent athletic ability. He's all right. Let's say he's 165. He wins the Golden Glove Open. He wins the Golden Glove Novice right away, goes Golden Glove Opens, does a couple national tournaments, wins it or finishes in top 3. He's getting older. Let's say he's 2 years later. He's got 30 fights. He's like ahead of like a shit ton of fighters already, believe it or not. I'm not saying he's going to be world champion. I'm actually betting he's not. However, there's still room there. Like, I could still make that kid, 8-0 with a state title, 8-0 with some shitty title that like no one's ever heard of.
Right.
So and that builds my business for the people behind him.
Right. Creates opportunity.
Yeah, it gets more eyes on me because now all his people follow me, follow her, follow my team, follow everybody. And that guy, that guy might be 32, 33, and I might feel like he's done. And I'm like, there's nothing I can do for you. You're let's say he's 7-0, 8-0, you got a state title, you got some little shitty alphabet title. You got 2 belts, and you got 2 amateur belts, maybe 1 national belt. You got 5 belts you can hang on your chimney and tell your kids that you were great at one time. Now come coach with me.
Yeah.
Understand what I put you through, understand why we didn't go further. Or you can look at it that way. He's like a local kid who becomes local, like a local coach and popular or whatever. We can still do good business.
Right.
On the flip side of it, he can go 8-0. We could take a shot, right? So if he's 8-0, we could fight a kid, maybe an Olympian who's got under 5 fights, take a chance. And maybe we catch that kid who makes a mistake, like Marc Castro. Marc Castro looks terrible. He looks terrible right now. I think he's 1-0 or maybe 2-0, whatever it is. He looked terrible on the Canelo undercard.
Yeah.
And
saw that.
Yeah, I tried to match him with Josh Hernandez. Josh Hernandez is part of our stable, and I think Josh Hernandez will knock him out right now, especially right now. So that fight didn't happen, and that fight could have happened in Tulsa. So there's certain things. So, like I said, they could take another chance against an 8-0 kid could take a chance against a 15-0 kid and see what happens. But if he loses, you know what? Depends how he loses. I think what we can do is ultimately take a shot. Depending upon how we lose, we can go back to the local scene and get him another win and call it a day.
Right, exactly.
Or if he does well and beats the kid, upsets the kid, we get a couple more wins and try to go for like some bigger stuff.
Another shot, a bigger shot.
Yeah, because I think every fighter in my gym and every fighter out there has a record in my head. So if you tell me a kid's name, especially Chicago, I can tell you, oh, that kid. There's certain fighters who I know personally who I'm like, oh, that guy, he's probably going to retire, my guess, 13-5. There were certain, I'm really close to, I called certain careers from local talent, I won't even mention names, but guys who were 8-2, who I said they'll never be good pros. They lost early in their career or whatever. I could just tell because they're not doing the strength training.
Right.
They're sparring with the same 4 guys. Mm-hmm. And the other side too, it's like if you have 100 amateur fights and you fought 12 dudes, but you fought 12 dudes 7, 8, 9 times.
Right.
Listen, you only have 30 fights to me. Those 100 fights don't mean anything because a lot of local matchmakers in Chicago or wherever in your town, wherever you're from, they want to keep you local because they throw amateur shows.
Right.
So they make money on those amateur shows. So they want you to fight her 6 times on 5 different shows because they make money.
And that's why you wanted to get out of the local scene.
Yeah, Summerlin had 17, I don't even know, let's say 17, 18 amateur fights only. She won nationals twice, won silver gloves twice, won power gloves, whatever. And she only had I think she had, let's say 17 fights. I think she fought in Chicago twice. You know what I'm saying? So she fought, Detroit, Iowa, or I don't even know Iowa, besides Iowa, Virginia, Reno.
Yeah, West Virginia.
Yeah, all over the place.
Atlanta.
So those 17, 18 fights were more important than staying in Chicago and fighting the same girl 7 times. Like,
Yeah.
she could have had 40 fights and she would have fought everyone 3, 4, 5, 6 times. It's like, it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time. And I think Summer Lynn will be a national champion. I mean, a world champion. And, you know, she won nationals easy twice, 2 different weight classes. So, you know, again, I think Summer Lynn's got a future on the world stage. And, you know, I think she fought the right girls at the right time. And I think she's improved. And, you know, I don't know. I think if someone says I have 150 amateur fights, I'd be like, great. What did you win? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because I know amateurs from Chicago who had 110 amateur fights, and they won the Golden Gloves once. Yeah. You know, and lost in nationals 7 times in a row. It's like, yeah, because the reason why you're losing in the nationals so much is because you keep fighting the same 5 guys in Chicago that you spar with.
Right.
So it's like
same thing.
It's like so idiotic. It's fucking insane. It's insane. And you know, the other thing is like, you know, sorry for ranting. It's a topic that drives me insane. And, you know, it's like, you know, everybody wants to be, you know, all these Chicago dads want to be like, you know, the next Floyd Mayweather Sr. It's just like, dude, just stop worrying about you. That's why your kid's unsuccessful, because you're worried about you being a top trainer. Just worry about the fighter. You know what I mean? It's just, I told you too, when I signed you, I didn't sign you to a coach's contract. I signed you to a managerial contract, and everybody told me I was nuts. And I said, if she leaves me, I'm still her manager, and I still wanted to give you Freddie. You ain't gonna go from me to someone behind me. You're gonna go from me to Freddie Roach or to, you know, to the next big names. You're not gonna go worse than me. That's never gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think again, that's business. Right. Smart. It had nothing to do with me as a trainer. I put my ego aside and said, I'm not gonna sign her to a coach's contract because I'm not an idiot. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of coaches lose good fighters because they have such a big ego that they if they don't get the coach's contract,
they're so hung up on paper.
It's crazy. I think there's other ways around it. There's other ways to get what you want without calling it a coach's contract. You know,
I feel like if they're so hung up on the paper, they haven't done the groundwork to establish the relationship in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think they're so caught up on the paperwork, they know they're not going to make it, and they don't want you to go make it with somebody else. I mean, that's a sure red flag to me. So, again, I want to talk to maybe Sean Talon. Sean Talon is the president of Illinois Boxing. I'd like to get him here. I'd like to get Josh Hernandez. He was in the amateur scene for a second. Who else can we get in here? Even Sean Simpson. Sean Simpson been on the World Series of Boxing on the amateur level, a national champion multiple times. Mm-hmm. So maybe get those guys out here, and I'm curious to hear what they have to say. And you know, to have Josh Hernandez and Sean Simpson, you know, for those who don't know, Josh is Puerto Rican and Sean Simpson is African American. So you can get those 2 different perspectives, the Hispanic perspective, and you can get the African American perspective. And, you know, they grew up in different parts of the city. Right. And you can hear, you know, they didn't have the same coaches. They dealt with different coaches, and you can hear kind of their opinion. So maybe that's what we do next is to have Sean and Josh Hernandez on next and talk in depth about Chicago boxing and what we need to do to make it better and change the mindset first and foremost. You know, so
I think that sounds good.
Yeah, so you know, stay tuned. We'll be back, and you know, we'll definitely hit that topic, Chicago boxing, and the growth and the delay of the growth. And we'll get down to the nitty gritty. So you guys stay tuned and watch out for that episode because that's going to be hot.